Hey, good morning. This is the Sunday Spectacular, the Leafs Convo. Norman, London, Mike in Buffalo. It is Sunday, January 11, 2026, episode 19 of our 8th season. The Maple Leafs, a 5-0 winner over a listless Vancouver Canucks team at Scotiabank Arena last night, Michael. If the Leafs can play like they did against the Canucks, and I'm not saying they play the Canucks for the next 38 plus games because they can't, but if they play like that, or at least offer up some kind of semblance of that type of activity throughout the rest of the season, I think they're making the playoffs. Mr. Augello, good morning.
Good morning, Norm. Well, I mean, yes. I mean, they need to beat the teams that are in front of them on the schedule. And when a team like Vancouver, who I've seen twice this week in Buffalo, Vancouver was terrible with Thatcher Demko and net, fell behind 4-0, but they almost came back and tied the game late in the third period. That wasn't the case yet last night. What happened with Demko is they gave up 3 goals in the first period. They pulled him, put Kevin Lankinen in, but it was a thorough effort by the Leafs. I mean, good defensively, good enough offensively, special teams. I mean, I think the one thing that was a little annoying were a number of penalties called, and it was Troy Stetcher got called for a tripping penalty where he didn't trip the guy, but
Right.
That's the kind of stuff that those of a conspiratorial mind will say, what the hell is going on? But the Leafs are 7-0-2 since they fired Mark Savard, and you have to say it wasn't all Mark Savard, but I'm sure the kernel of some of the discontent and some of the lack of confidence. We know that there's, special teams, especially when you see the standing so tight.
Yeah.
An advantage on special teams is the difference in winning and losing most nights, and their ability to kill penalties in the last 2 games, especially that 5-on-3 in Philadelphia when they're down 1-0. That turned that game around because Scott Lawton scores the shorthanded goal, and then eventually Easton Cowan scores the winner. And I think they killed 6 power plays against the Canucks, any one of which had Vancouver scored a goal, it would have given them some life. So special teams have been a key to this latest stretch.
Hey, this is the Convo. Like the content, subscribe to the channel, hype our videos. If you're on your mobile device, that's what you need to do when this show is fully uploaded. Thank you very much for all of your support. Everything's going right for the Maple Leafs right now. 7 straight wins on home ice, 3 straight wins altogether in Philadelphia. A team they have beaten a lot of late, somehow scrap out a win. Vancouver, a shitty team, take it to them. I mean, the Canucks go 0 for 6 with the man advantage. Didn't look very good whatsoever, and that helps pad the Maple Leafs in terms of how good they are on the penalty kill. 85% they're shutting down the opposition. Teams are only scoring 15% when they have the man advantage against the Maple Leafs. That's good for 3rd in the league. The Leafs with 2 power play goals, so getting it done when they have to. Most nights getting outshot, but just in terms of being outworked, it's not the case of late. And it's Mike, it's really nice to see, and we'll talk about what's on the horizon and how all of this goodwill may go to the wayside. But for now, it's a pat on the back to the blue and white, who are now a point out of a playoff spot.
Yeah, I mean, and it's weird because the 2 teams that I cover have sort of been on the same pathway. And around the same time, the Sabres winning streak has been a little bit longer. Well, 5 games longer, but the Leafs are 1 point behind Buffalo. Buffalo just pulled into one of the 2 wild card spots. And what the Leafs have done over the last 2.5 weeks is dig themselves out of the hole that they created for themselves early in the season by basically being mediocre. Now, a lot of things were factors in that. Like I said, I think the power play being dead last in the league was a factor. The goaltending was a factor. I think Anthony Stolarz, before he got injured, was being overplayed and was not playing particularly well. Joseph Wall was played 8 starts in 9 games and played well, but you cannot play a goalie that goalie in particular that much. They didn't have confidence in Dennis Hildeby. The Caden Primo claim off of waivers was clear that but Dennis Hildeby, if you look at the way he played against Philadelphia, he saved that game. A guy that everybody was ripping last week on the last Sunday Spectacular. Not you, not I, but everybody was destroying Morgan Rielly. Well, gee, how is Morgan Rielly doing once Brandon Carlo came back, folks? He's been a different defenseman because he has somebody who can actually friggin' support him. So,
Right.
There's a number of factors here. And yesterday, I think the most encouraging thing was they got back Dr. Nylander. Mr. Willie
Right.
didn't seem to make an appearance. And they got back Jake McCabe, who I think is the most important defenseman next to Chris Tanev on this roster. And it was a solid effort throughout. And we're going to go into the schedule. They're going to need to be solid on the road because right now in that remaining stretch between now and the Olympic break, they go on two, not one, but two road trips west of the Mississippi.
Yeah, Austin Matthews continues to chip in. The Leafs were successful for a short period of time without, is it Dr. Nylander or Mr. Willie? Which one's the good one?
Dr. Nylander is the good one. Mr. Willie is the bad one.
So asked about his absence from the team because of injury and how he was viewing things. Willie was excited to see the team pulling together and picking up wins, accruing points, working its way out of the hole that, again, you said it dug for itself. And then he comes back on board and fits right in. Now, it was nice that they collectively came together against a shitty team like Vancouver, where, there's not a ton of pushback and that team is basically checked out for the season. However, he augmented the group, made it better, got some points right away. Oh, could have had 5 points last night. He missed that open net with Lankin and beat, but he was a little too deep behind the goal line. So Nylander coming in and joining a group that seemed like it's been generating positive momentum that's going to mean something. And that's good, as opposed to him coming in, the team relying on Nylander, pulling back a little bit. It seems like it's all systems go right now, and it's a positive thing. But again, it has to stay this way. And again, in some way, shape, or form throughout the rest of the season without too many slumps. Or again, we're going to be talking about this team on the outside looking in when it matters the most.
I mean, William Nylander, along with Matthews, are the two most important players on this team in terms of generating offense because, the safety net is gone. You used to have be four deep in terms of impactful players. Well, I mean, as good as John Tavares is still at age 34, he's not a core player anymore. He's a great supplemental player. You're hoping that Matthew Nyes becomes one of those core players, and they're betting on that because they signed him to a long-term deal. Matthews doesn't have to be on every night, Biff and Hap.
I don't mean to derail your diatribe.
No. That was going along with what I was saying. Otherwise, I would just ignore him.
Right.
Matthews doesn't have to be on every night, but you need those games when he scores 3 goals against Winnipeg. So, and they got that game out of Nylander yesterday with I think it was 3 points. So you need your big guys to come up in certain. Right. No one, even Connor McDavid, doesn't score 3 points every game.
Right.
It seems like it, but he doesn't. And so what you need is, and when those big guys don't score, you need other guys to pick up the slack. And you saw in Philadelphia, it was your fourth liner on a penalty kill, Scott Laughton, who tied the game, and it was a rookie who was on the third line, but he was playing with John Tavares, who, after a mad scramble, that Morgan Rielly saved the game, folks, on a 2-on-1.
It's the least he could do, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I was just about to post this in the comments. Those of you who want Rielly credit after you're all free, and so am I as a commentator, to criticize a player for playing badly. And I criticized Rielly for being -4 against the Islanders, but I said, well, playing with Philippe Myers and playing with Simone Benoit will drag anybody down. Well, he's playing with Brandon Carlo now, and he's playing well. So give him the credit when you would give him the give him the flowers when you would instead give him the vinegar the other way. It's
Right.
that's what I'm saying. Be consistent in your criticism.
Okay, so the thing with Rielly is that he's on the back end of his career. I would not depend on him to take over a game or play like a stalwart. Again, if this team were out of the picture and he were up for grabs, he would be a great addition for a contender. Absolutely. The relationship, I don't believe, will ever be fully repaired with Morgan Rielly, and that's okay. I mean, you're gonna have people who disrespect him unfairly, and other people, and it's a minority, who believe he's a lot better than he really is. If Carlo can stay healthy and that duo can continue to coalesce and come together and support one another, that's what we need. And that will keep Rielly out of most people's bad books. I mean, he's not as great with the puck as he used to be. Clearly doesn't have the great of a shot. He can contribute a little bit when it comes to the power play, and that will eat away at his historically bad plus minus. But if he can play a quiet game and just go about his business with the support of his defensive group and the team at large, he'll be okay, and we can focus on other things.
Yeah. There's a question Marcus just posted in the chat. Saying, is it fair to say that the Leafs, there you go, have one, if not one of the best bottom sixes in the league? And I agree with that. I think they're right now, the way they're playing with Waugh, Cowan, and Robertson as the third line, and Lawton, Lorenz, and last night it was Bobby McMahon, although I think Bobby McMahon probably fits better in the third line role, a little higher.
Did you see that pass Lorenz made to Nylander last night? I mean, Nylander was surprised it ended up on his stick. Beat two guys.
Yeah, it was very, but just to complete the thought on Marcus, right. Yes, they have one of the best bottom sixes, but their top six isn't as good. When you have Matias Maccelli playing on your second line, and he has played much better of late, and he's more confident, no doubt, but he's got to prove it consistent.
But he's a streaky guy. He'll never be fully consistent. Well, I mean, when you put him on a line with Austin Matthews, I mean,
he disappeared. Maccelli early in the season when he played with Matthews, he was a non-factor. They have not been able to find a home for him. And lately they played him with Tavares, and he's played better, and he's been more feisty and more involved defensively, and he's got really good vision. I mean, he had 40 assists with Arizona. That's the player that they thought that they were acquiring. And if he can set up Nylander, and if he can pass like he can, I mean, they're putting him on the first power play and taking Tavares off of it. So, I mean, that tells you that, and that they value his playmaking ability. And he did score. He did score yesterday, but he's got to prove it in terms of a long stretch to be consistent, to be somebody who I would have some faith in in the top six. But their top six is, now you have Maccelli, you have Domi in your top six.
Two inconsistent guys. Domi fighting last night. Who did he fight? Pettersson?
Yes. But my point is that they're weaker top six and they're better bottom six. Now that makes for a more balanced lineup, but you also have to have the guys who are still there, like Tavares, like Nyes, like Matthews, like Nylander, to produce more consistently.
Which group of forwards is more difficult to augment at the deadline when you are trying to, put your pieces together to take a run?
The top six, because you have to give up.
We've been going on about how shitty I wouldn't say inept the bottom six has been over the last several years, but just not capable of what we're expecting of it, with our top six being all world. It's the other way around this time around.
Very correct. Absolutely.
And again, you've still got Nylander, you still got Nyes, you still got Tavares, you still got Matthews, who's come back to becoming an all-world player again, which he should be at this stage of the game. He's in his prime. Mm-hmm. Don't you think they can find somebody who can help maybe flank the top six through the rest of the season and maybe into the playoffs? And if your bottom half stays healthy, I mean, that's a really, really encouraging sign. And obviously coming together and getting better game in and game out.
I do not think that the Leafs have the assets within the organization to
Okay.
make a move for a top 6 player. They're going to have to wait until the offseason until they have money under the cap and free agency. And I don't know how much money under the cap they're going to have, because they have their own free agents like Bobby McMahon and Scott Lawton to re-sign. That's going to eat away at their available cap space. I mean, I'm just saying, it's like, yeah, you in a perfect world, you're like, oh, well, we should go out at the deadline and get a winger that can replace Marner. Okay, then you're giving up a first round pick and probably a prospect like Ben Danford. No, I mean, right now, okay, they bring this up.
Can you not just put someone there, someone capable? I mean, don't the Leafs, with what they have on the top 6 in terms of offensive firepower,
Yep.
aren't they equitable? Like, can't you equate what the Leafs have to, maybe the top 10 teams in the league right now, the way it sits? I mean, we're not always happy with the production and the way it comes together.
Right.
But I mean, when you take Nylander, Nyes, Matthews, and Tavares,
Mhm.
there are a lot of teams in this league who fancy themselves a contender who don't have that in their top 6.
True, very true. But I mean, the issue here is that group did not play consistently enough in the first half to sort
Right.
of provide that buffer zone that they normally have, and now they're going to have to play at a top level on most nights to get into the playoffs. That's the shortcoming of what they did in the first half. Now, yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of teams out there that would kill to have Nylander and Matthews in their top 6.
Right.
I mean, I know that right now, in the Atlantic Division, it's probably those 2 players. They rival, say, Kucherov and Point in Tampa Bay, or they rival Suzuki and Caulfield in Montreal. They're either equal or better. But I'm talking about the fact that right now you don't know whether you're going to be in a playoff spot. So, and you have very little assets right now because you've traded to add at the deadline the last few years. I mean, I have to say this. The report that came out first from Nick Kyprios, then confirmed by Elliot Friedman on 32 Thoughts this week, should give everybody a bit of pause.
And what was that?
The report was that the Leafs were pursuing Braden Shen, and that the package that was being essentially demanded from the Blues was Cowan, Danford, and something.
For Braden Shen?
For Braden Shen. Now, okay.
It's just rage bait, Mike.
No. I would believe that from other people, but Elliot, I believe like 95% of the things that he reports, because
For living told the Blues to fuck off. That's
Well,
ridiculous.
no,
Braden Shen's not worth
they were
that many assets.
They were prepared to do it, but the problem is that the only way that Braden Shen would waive his no trade clause is if the Leafs had gotten Luke Shen from either Nashville or Pittsburgh. He was traded to Winnipeg for a second and a fourth round pick. The Leafs couldn't do that because they didn't have a second and a fourth round pick, at least not in the last couple of years. Because Braden Shen wanted to have, basically reunite the Shen brothers.
That's right.
Now you could say if they had done that, they wouldn't have traded a first round pick for Brandon Carlo because they would have had Shen. Okay. They would not have traded a first round pick for Scott Lawton, but you don't know what the something plus Danford and Cowan would have been. Now, the whole point is
they avoided a catastrophe. Thank God.
Braden Shen has 18 points this year and has 2 more years at $6.5 million. And Luke Shen can't play for the worst team in the league right now. So how would that, and that's only by happenstance. It's only because they couldn't get Luke Shen.
Right.
How bad of a position would they be in right now? And if they had traded for Braden Shen, there's no guarantee they would have signed John Tavares because they probably wouldn't have had the cap space. So, these are the things.
So give Treliving his flowers for not making that dumb deal.
No, it may not be up to him. It may have been the fact that they couldn't get Luke Shen, not that they didn't want to get Luke Shen.
That's crazy. Can you imagine that? OG's Commerce. What do you think? Speaking of rage bait, we're gonna We're gonna jump back into the goalie discussion. Oh my God, T-Sack can't trade Stolarz. Wall is not a reliable
Oh
number
my
one.
God. Shut your ass. I mean, T-Sack, I'm sorry.
T-Sack, good job, good
Well,
job.
yeah. It's poke the bear, poke the bear, poke the bear. T-Sack, I'm sorry. You know, if you can't believe that right now, Joseph Wall, and okay, Joseph Wall is not a 60 game starting goalie. We've known that for a couple of years. He could be a 45 to 50 game starting goalie and play for you in the playoffs, where he has played well a couple times. Okay. Anthony Stolarz breathes and he gets hurt. It's, you know, he was day to day after getting hurt on November 11th. It's January 11th, and he still isn't back in the lineup. So
this is how we build up guys beyond where they really are when it comes to the reality of their situation. Stolarz gets the Leafs through the Ottawa series and starts the Panthers series in a great fashion, gets rung up by Sam Bennett. And we view him in the pantheon with, Terry Sawchuk and Johnny Bower and Patrick Waugh because he played for the Maple Leafs. Big fucking deal. Yeah. Big deal. He got his contract, which is team friendly. He's injured. The focus now should be keeping, praying and hoping that Wall and Hildeby can stay healthy and keep backstopping this team to where we all think it needs to get to. And if it's playing the way it is right now, that is the playoffs. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Well, I mean, you have to look at this with not blue and white colored glasses when you look at the situation. You know, you have to give Brad Treliving a bunch of credit for getting Hildeby signed at a 3-year deal for under $1 million. So he has played well. He has played. I think as he's played better and better. And he was. I think he was really good against Philadelphia. Now, what people don't recognize is Wall played great against Florida. They played Hildeby against Philadelphia. Why? Because you can get Wall 3 days rest. And then Wall was really good against Vancouver. Now you've got back-to-backs on the road trip coming where you're going to have to split it again. Wall plays one game, Hildeby plays the next. And then your schedule. I mean, you're playing every other night, folks. And that's what I'm saying. You can play Wall 2 games in a row, Tuesday, Thursday, but you can't play him Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Monday. You have to mix Hildeby in there when it's not a back-to-back. And I think that the way Hildeby is playing now, there's the confidence there. You can't. Okay, Stolarz is starting to do on-ice work. He's getting to the point where maybe he comes back before the Olympic break.
Yeah.
I can't trust him.
Okay, so if let me ask you, he's healthy, he's ready to go. Automatically, Hildeby gets shipped back to the Marlies because they're paying Stolarz and they're expecting him to be part of this tandem?
Well, I mean, that's the debate here because, I mean, honestly, I mean, maybe you keep 3 goalies if you can for a while. I mean, but you have to play them. 3 goalies normally doesn't work. And Hildeby can go back down to the Marlies because he's waiver exempt, but at a certain point,
if everything's going well. If everything's going well and he's producing.
That's why they're not rushing Stolarz back because everything is going well.
Right.
But the thing is, and somebody brought it up in the chat before, and I when you're talking about trading a goalie, okay, the one goalie I'm not trading is Hildeby because Hildeby is cheap and good. The next guy I'm not trading is of the 2 goalies, but he just can't play a ton. The guy I'm trading is Stolarz, and there might be a team that's enough of a sucker that you could trade him to.
Really? For a run, if he's healthy at the deadline, for a run, and again, what he's being paid for is digestible when it comes to the overall amount that teams have to spend and how they would allocate money for a 1A or a 1B. So that would be great. So the key is get him healthy, maybe get him some showcase time, put him out there, ship him off. It's Wall and Hildeby, ride or die with those cats. We'll do a few more minutes to get out of here. Yeah, I mean, there are teams out there that are playoff teams that, have goaltending issues like Edmonton, who, now they traded for Jarry, but Jarry got hurt. They probably will need a backup or somebody in case, right, I agree, in case Jarry goes down. And Calvin Pickard was with the Leafs a few years ago, folks. Right.
I think that, there are other teams besides Edmonton, but there are probably teams out there that would consider Stolarz and remember, he signed for 4 years at 3.75 million. 3.75 million with the cap going up is not a big deal.
Right.
So if there's a team out there that thinks that Stolarz could help them in terms of a playoff run, that might be, you may not be able to get a top 6 forward for the draft picks or some of the prospects that you don't want to trade. You might be able to get it for a goaltender or at least a useful player that you could trade for one of the goalies. And the goalie.
So if they can get rid of Stolarz, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but if they traded him to a team that could use him, I mean, we can credit Brad Treliving for not overpaying him because that contract is movable. And this wouldn't be the first time nor the last. A player who just signed a contract and who we expect to be an integral piece of the team loses his job when he gets injured to somebody who just comes on the scene and emerges and takes over.
Yeah, I mean, it's happened all the time. I mean, I can remember back in the day, and the rules have changed a little bit, but when the Philadelphia Flyers signed guys like Mike Richards and Jeff Carter and James Van Riemsdyk, and then they signed him to extensions and then traded them before the no trade clause kicked in on the new deal. That's how the Leafs got Van Riemsdyk for Luke Shen. That happened all the time. Now, if I'm just looking up here, Stolarz on his deal he has a 16-team no trade clause, so they can trade him to half the league.
Stolarz?
Yeah.
He's just so special.
Yeah, he has a 16, so he can be traded to one half of the league, and who knows? He blocks it to every Canadian team. Who knows? But you can work with that, and I think that if there's and I don't think they're going to trade Stolarz inside of their own division KPG, but I do think that they can trade him to teams out there that are in need of goaltending. So it's a possibility. It gives them a piece. It gives them some flexibility in an area that they probably didn't think that they were going to be flexible in. That's all I'll say.
Okay. We got nearly 100 people in the chat. That's amazing. We appreciate you guys. Like the content, subscribe to the channel. When this content uploads from your mobile device, hit the hype button. It really does help us out. So the Maple Leafs have won 3 in a row, 7 straight on home ice, a point out of a wild card spot. A top 3 standing in the division is within sight, and it's realistic. Here's the thing, Mike. All of this goodwill, all of this excitement could go down the drain here in the next couple of weeks. The Leafs have 13 more games before the Olympic break.
Right.
And immediately this coming week, 4 straight road games with teams including the Avalanche and the Mammoth on back-to-back nights, Monday, Tuesday. Then you have Vegas. So all 3 contending teams, especially the Avalanche. I mean, they've got to be the favorites to win the cup this year, at least at this point. And then it's Winnipeg. Winnipeg's going to want to get back at them, and Winnipeg's at home. And then, I mean, you've got the Wild, the Wings, Vegas again, another game with the Avalanche, the Sabres, who again will give them a fight, the Kraken, a playoff team. And then you have Vancouver, Edmonton, Calgary to wrap things up before we take that 2-3 week break. Michael Augello, I'm thinking the team has to go at least 7-6 with a couple of loser points over this very difficult stretch, games compressed, to put themselves in a spot where they can take a real hack at a meaningful playoff spot in the last 25 games of the season. We'll leave the last word to you.
They need to go 2-2 on this upcoming road trip. Colorado, Utah, you probably split, or you hope that you can split. If they get more than 2 out of 4 points in that back-to-back, that's great. They need to beat Vegas, who is struggling right now, and they need to beat Winnipeg. So at the absolute worst, 2-2, maybe 2-1-1. They have to make hay at home like they have, and it's a 5-game homestand. With the centerpiece being the return of number 16, which I hope he gets lustily booed at the Scotiabank Arena, and then Colorado comes to town. And then they go four more on the road before the Olympic break: Seattle, Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton. Right. They need to go 3-1 because that's a group of teams that right now are either struggling or at the bottom of the league. I think the biggest stat right now is look at the Leafs 6, 10, and 2 on the road. If they were 500, they would be in one of the top
Right.
3 spots in the Atlantic Division. And they're not, because they've lost 10 games. They're one of the best teams at home. They've been one of the worst teams on the road.
Second best in the conference. I mean, third, fourth best in the entire league. Like,
Yep.
how can the Leafs take what they've been doing, the momentum they've been building, and keep it together over this immediate 4-game stretch and throughout the remaining games before the Olympic break? How can they do that? Because again, they're not. Like, again, the thing is, we see Domi and he fights and he gets a goal. If he played like that every night, well, he's not going to. But if you can play like, give us some version or variation of that every single night, that would suffice. And if most guys on the team could at least keep their game to a professional level of play night in and night out, not saying it has to be all-star like, but just be professional and get the job done. How can this team take what it's built of late and keep it together in some way, shape, or form throughout this very difficult stretch?
Well, they're going to have to play like they played against Philadelphia, which was a very tight road game.
Right.
I mean, they didn't generate a ton of offensive chances, and they were 1-0 in the third period. And they need to score more consistently on the road, but they did get the victory. And I mean, I think that's going to be the key, is to play a sort of strapped down, boring style. I mean, it's going to be tough against a team like Colorado, who
Right.
is, they're phenomenal right now.
Can they go toe to toe offensively with Colorado if they had to?
That's the thing. They can't do. If they play a wide open offensive game, they'll get throttled. They have to play a more.
So you're telling me they get ahead 2-0 and they have to? They're sitting back is the way to go? No way.
I'm not saying sitting back, but I'm saying they have to play. See, they have to play responsible defensively. It doesn't mean you go into a shell, but it also means that Max Domi can't get caught out of position like he did on the goal that Konechny scored in Philadelphia. I mean, that's one of the things. Max Domi is better at home because Berube can match him up against lines that are not as good offensively. Right. He's a liability every time he steps on the ice in his own zone. He positionally is not sound, and you have to play him with defensive players who can cover up for him. But sometimes you can't cover up for a player. But all I'm saying is they have to play more responsible two-way on the road, because that's, right. They exactly, Spike. They cannot.
Spike 11, run and gun hockey against McKinnon and Makar is suicide.
Right. And Natchez, and it's not just those guys, but if you can neutralize those guys, good luck to you. I mean, good luck to anybody in the Olympics neutralizing Makar and McKinnon.
So in other words, all of this excitement is great, and the Leafs are in a lot better place today than they were a month ago.
Correct.
But if you think the Leafs are on their way, pump the fucking brakes.
Yeah, that's why I said, talk to me on February 4th after this stretch, after they go twice to the West Coast, or to west of the Mississippi, before their two best players go to Milan and play on a slushy ice surface and please.
OEL's going over there too. And,
I know, but
I talk about a quiet confidence and a guy who's just been an absolute stalwart.
I wasn't slagging him, but I mean, the two best players on the Leafs right now are Matthews and Nylander, and that's the focus in terms of them hopefully not getting hurt on the bad ice surface in Milan. But my point is that, talk to me on the 4th of February after this stretch is over with, and if they're still 1 point out of a wild card spot, or if they're even in a wild card spot, then you can talk to me about them having a good chance of making the playoffs. But this stretch is going to be tough, and they're going to have to play as good as they have played over the last 9 games to be able to stay in the race. We got to go, but I got to ask you, is fighting up in the NHL this year? It seems so. Or am I just catching the highlights at the right time? Yeah, I don't think it's up. I mean, there have been certain games where I've seen some, like the Matthew Olivier. Yeah, by the way, the Matthew Olivier Ryan Reeves fight, I think that was Reeves' 3rd or 4th fight this year. That's 3 or 4 more than he did with the entire last year with Toronto. He indicated he wasn't allowed to do that bullshit. I'm sorry.
So why does he fight for the San Jose Sharks? Does he have a man crush on Macklin Celebrini and just wants to show off for the guy and not fight for the Maple Leafs?
He's
That's what we wanted him to do.
I think in San Jose, even though they're being more competitive right now, I think there's with him, it's a young team. He's sticking up for the players here. Right. They didn't want him taking the extra instigate. If that's, but I'm sorry, there were certain instances where your players were getting taken advantage of, and you needed to go out to be the sheriff, and you didn't do it. And that because you didn't do it, you were useless in 2 years. And now all of a sudden you're the Ryan Reeves that had some use. It's like, and you got your clock cleaned by Matthew Olivier, but at least you dropped the gloves and fought. I'm sorry. The 2 years, the one of the biggest mistakes that Brad Treliving made in his early tenure as a Maple Leaf general manager was signing Ryan Reeves. That was a bad contract.
Okay, he's gone. I didn't mean, speaking of rage bait, I didn't mean to bring his name up and have you go off on a die. I know you dislike the guy. It's just like with the Leafs of late. We've seen Nyes go. Domi went. Easton Cowan wanted to fight last night. I was watching the Stützle fight. Guy who has no business throwing him, but just trying to get his team going. It seems like, again, and we know this historically, after fights these days, both teams, it instigates some, something extra and that more aggressive gear after these kinds of fights. And if it's a good thing for the Maple Leafs and it shows camaraderie, it shows that they have each other's back. I'm not against it. I don't think it's adverse to the team's achieving its goals in the right way, especially playing tough, Mike. And that's something that we've wanted this team to do is play tough, hit, be aggressive, and stick up for each other. Again, not looking for fights just for fun, but if it happens, it happens, right? And look, over the next 13 games, especially when they're on the road, look, you don't want to be in the sin bin, given the teams like the Mammoth and the Vegas Golden Knights and the Colorado Avalanche opportunities with the man advantage. But you're going to have to play tough, right? Because if you sink into your skates and you fall back and you are tentative, it's going to be very, very difficult to maintain the momentum that this team has built up for itself, and that would be really sad to see because it's put itself back on a plateau where it means something again. Just a little bit of math again before we go. If the Leafs get 16 points over this 13 game stretch, and in one way it's a tall ask, and another, it's not too much to ask. The team would have 67 points going into the Olympic break with 25 games to play. Over the final 25 games, if they can pick up 28 points, that would give them 95 points. Does that get them into a playoff position?
I think 95 points would, but the difficulty is to maintain the pace you're talking about maintaining a pace right now where you've earned points in 9 straight. That's like this again. That's the same conversation in Buffalo. It's like, well, right. Lindy Ruff came out and said, well, we're 48 points in 41 games, and if we do the same thing,
right,
in the second half, you went 13-0-1. It's not realistic. It's what you can do. You have to be over 5. You have to be 500 on the road, and you have to be 750 at home. And right now, you have 4 games to make up.
Mm-hmm.
Go plus 4 on the road to be able to be 500 on the road. And that's, so you've got 18 road games right now. Yeah, that means you have 23 left. You're going to have to go 16-7, 15-8. That's tough. You've got to win games on the road and maintain your high level at home.
Well, they picked up that extra point in Philadelphia in that crazy overtime, which was just glorious, and that's a nice indicator. Be incrementally better on the road. Don't mail it at home. Stay consistent, and we'll see if this team can get to where it wants to go. Reading about the Leafs of late, it's all about this us against the world mentality. When you're the biggest team in hockey and you've been so successful over the last decade, it's a weird way to view things, but when you also take into consideration how shitty this team has started and the fact that, pound for pound, it isn't better than, the top 10 teams in the league, then maybe that's the way you have to view the opposition, and how you want to deal with them night in and night out. Kevin R, they seem to have a pack mentality now. It's good to see. Mike, I just want to get your take, and we should leave, but I want to get your take on Cowan's game of late. He wanted to fight. He scored that overtime goal. Nice little backhanded pass from John Tavares. I mean, what's the goaltender to do? But I mean, geez, this is a guy who you said has to play.
Yep.
Has to play if he's going to be up with the big club. Do you think he's done enough to earn himself a spot with this team for the rest of the season and the foreseeable future?
At this point, yes. The way he's playing right now, yes. I mean, I think there's chemistry with him.
There's confidence there too, Mike. There's more to his game than just the physical and the skilled attributes.
No, I agree. There's chemistry with him and Robertson. You have Waugh, who is a veteran center, who is the defensively responsible one that allows players like an inexperienced player like Cowan to take a chance because he's there backing and covering up. I mean, he only has 13 points right now, but that doesn't. I mean, he's playing a role. He doesn't. They're not overloading him with a top six responsibility or playing with Matthews. I think that was too much. He's settling into a complementary role, and then maybe in a year or two he builds into a top six role. This is I didn't agree with him sitting 3 games in a row. I don't know if it was a midseason, give the kid a break. You could, I think if you're going to sit him more than that, you play him with the Marlies. But right now he is, and we know this from London. He was a shit disturber in London. He was somebody who got underneath the skin of his opposition. He has to make sure he doesn't bite off more than he can chew, but that's the role that I don't think he's Darcy Tucker, but I think there's a little of that in him, and that's going to be valuable down the line. So yeah, that's great. Keep doing what you're doing, kid.
Be an animal. I think it was Kevin reminded us that Colorado is 19-0-2 at home.
Yep.
That's bananas. Put some money on the Leafs beating them at home. Wouldn't that be something?
Don't you remember when New Jersey was unbeaten for that long stretch in New Jersey? I think they had a long winning streak, and Matt Murray and the Leafs went into New Jersey and beat them. I'm not saying that the Leafs are going to go in and beat Colorado, because Colorado is an 800-pound gorilla, but it'll be interesting.
2 more guys. Scott Laughton. When he came over, we didn't really take into account how difficult that was for him, leaving a place he had been for over a decade. I didn't know how much he meant to the sports community there. Joining this team where the expectation is bananas, sky high, through the roof, almost out of control. But here we are after his injury, him settling in. Mm-hmm. Never mind the slap shot goals, but the face-off prowess is incredible, and it really helps the team when you can possess the puck off the draw. And he seems like he's really, really well liked, and he's into a comfort zone. I mean, we've been looking for a guy like that, and it seems like he's kind of come around to being the guy he's been before and will continue to be for this team. I just really like him, and the fact he's from Toronto too, and it's just kind of coming together. That's like such a positive.
Yeah, and you have to think this way here. He settled in, he got over his injury issues. He's not putting up big stats, but he's a glue guy. He's playing 4th line center right now. He's an unrestricted free agent. And you have to think of it this way. He wants to play here.
Right. He doesn't want to bounce around. He doesn't seem like that kind of guy.
He wants to play here. He has the leverage of being an unrestricted free agent. But I think he also has the leverage on the Leafs that the Leafs gave up a 1st-round pick for him. So I would not be surprised that during the Olympic break, when a lot of general managers are going to try to get some business done, that Brad Treliving approaches Scott Laughton's agent and sees how much it would cost to get him on an extension, because they don't want to have him walk away for nothing. And if it's reasonable and it's a reasonable term, like 3 or 4 years, then I think they're going to get him signed to an extension. Just like With Bobby McMahon. Bobby McMahon really didn't have he was an undrafted free agent who played Colgate, got signed by Kyle Dubas, got his way through the system. He scored 20 goals last year. He's probably on pace to score 20 goals this year. If it's too much, they'll let him go. But I have a feeling, if they can get him on a reasonable deal, all the guys, and Troy Stetcher, you have to say this.
That's who I wanted to talk about as well.
Yeah, I'm not saying you sign him for 5 years. He's 31 years old, but this is a guy who has jumped around, who has had 1-year contracts, 2-year contracts. You give him a 2-year contract, 3-year contract, and it's not ridiculous. You give him the deal that you gave Simone Benoit, like $1 million, 1.25, 1.5.
He would do it.
Yeah,
and he would do it. So looking at Stetcher's career stats when I was working out this morning, I mean, he was a point guy early in his career, and then barely scored any points, but he's got like 9 points with the Maple Leafs in limited action. He's like, what is it about this guy that has ignited him in Toronto?
Yeah, it's just fit. It really is just fit. Now, now that everybody's coming back, and we know that tandem is probably not coming back for a little while, Stetcher settles into the role that I think he's sort of meant. He did a great job filling in the top 4. Now, if he plays on the bottom pairing with Benoit, I think you could improve on Benoit, but that's my opinion. Right. And Philippe Myers can sit in the press box and eat popcorn. But Stetcher's making league minimum. He's making $787.5. Right. If you offered him a 2 or 3 year deal at 1.25 or 1.5, I don't think he's turning it down. He's 31 years old. And I'm just looking at his contract history here. It's just been 1 year with Edmonton, 1 year with Utah. It's like 2 years with Detroit. It's like, yeah, he's signing a 2-year deal, probably more than likely. So get it done.
I wonder if he thought when he was put on waivers, if that was it. And then the Leafs pick him up at a really difficult time. But as soon as he got here, he made an impact. And not just with his play, but like he's really excited to do well. He seems like a good teammate. He's on the bench last night. The camera's on him. He sees the cameras on him, and he winks. Like there's a confidence and a joy there that was just awesome. My wife loved that. She's like, "Who is this dude? Why is he winking at us like he's a Norris Trophy winner?" Just seems to really want to be here and doing well. That said, talk to me in a couple of months when I mean, he's sat out 5 or 6 games in a row. I mean, I hope that's not the case, but man, it's really, really nice to see right now.
And he's he revs up the crowd and things like that. Yeah,
right.
All those things mean something, but what means most is for this team to win. And he's been an integral part of the turnaround. And it's surprising because he's been a journeyman his entire career. But the fact that he's a right shot, the fact that he can skate, and the fact that he's experienced enough to know not to make stupid plays, all factor in maybe keeping the guy around for more than just this year.
Yeah, he's an aggressive defenseman. He's not a big lumbering dude. They've got those already. They need more of them. But again, it's just the ability to be astute, be a professional, allow your veteran prowess to take over and help this team get to where it wants to go. It's an amazing thing. The Leafs are your top face-off team in the league, winning 56.7% of their draws. Scott Lawton, the main reason for that. Mr. Augello, what else do you have going on?
Just daily writing on the Leafs at Hockey Hot Stove, Leafs Convo off the post, doing podcasts for the Hockey News and Buffalo Sabres coverage for the Hockey News. So I'm not busy at all.
Are we calling it right now? The Leafs are going to give the Avalanche their first home ice loss this season in regulation?
No, I'm not going to call it. I think they have a chance the way that they're playing, but I'm not going to call it.
Okay. I'm going to call it. You're not calling it. I'm going to call it. And I think they'll pick up 3 points versus the Avs and the Mammoth in the back-to-back Monday, Tuesday. Before we go, are we writing the obituary on Sean McDermott, Josh Allen, and the Buffalo Bills? Are we going to start writing that right now with the expectation they're going to lose to Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars in enemy territory, and that'll be all she wrote for 2026 in the Bills?
The Bills are losing in Jacksonville today. I mean, is it possible that they win? Sure. If Allen has a great game, if Allen is healthy completely, I don't know if he is or not, but we'll see. They just put one of their better receivers who's had trouble staying healthy all year on injured reserve, so his season is done. They're out without one of their top linebackers, so they've been ravaged by injuries. Whether is Sean McDermott done? No. I mean, again, the ownership of the Buffalo Bills is the same ownership as the Buffalo Sabres, and they didn't fire Kevin Adams for 5.5 years. So Sean McDermott is staying. So is the GM, but I think they're losing today.
Do you think this group, the window, if not closed, will close after whatever happens during this playoff run? Talking about McDermott, Allen, and this particular group of Buffalo Bills.
No, I mean, as long as Josh Allen is one of the top quarterbacks in the league, you have to approach this as you're in contention for winning the Super Bowl coming out of the AFC. The problem is that their decision making in terms of the draft and their decision making in terms of free agency has been flawed. And they need to get better at that. But I don't think that they're going to fire the GM or fire the coach if they lose.
Yeah, and again, Allen is he's a generational quarterback. I mean, is he up there in the pantheon with the Elways and the Bradys and the Marinos? And
he's got to win. He's got to win. I mean, Marino never won a Super Bowl, but he's got to at least get to a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mr. A, I appreciate your time. OG's Convo, it's amazing. Over 100 people in the chat. This is what we're looking for. Like the content, subscribe to the channel, hit the hype button. Watch out for our YouTube shorts. They'll be on YouTube here in the next 24 hours, and then we put everything over on TikTok. If you're on that crazy medium, give us a follow. We're doing what we're doing, 19 shows into 25, 26. It's up to the Maple Leafs to keep us moving through and putting together as much content as possible. As of right now, good times. We'll see you in the next few days, though. For Mr. Augello, I'm Norm James. Have a great Sunday, guys. The Leafs Convo is out.